What's up, football fans? That's Swede here, back again with another video. In today's video I'm gonna walk you through how I collect and save the different performance stats available in FIFA 18 Ultimate Team, and how I go forth and to analyze the different stats and in the end get better in FIFA from it. The aim of this video is that you should get insights into how it's done, and if you think it could benefit you, give you an idea on how you could be able to do it yourself. I actually started doing this in FIFA 17 when I looked at the stats after a game and realized that I really didn't have a clue on how my players performed on the course of several games. So I started to note down the performance stats and followed it up after 10, 20, 15, 100 games. And there are basically three things that you need to have in order to start tracking performance. First, you need time. This method takes up about 5, 6, 7 minutes after a game to collect all the data manually. I'm looking for a solution to use image recognition to be able to do this more automatically, but for now you need to do this completely manually, so you need to feel that you have the time after each game to note them down. Second of all, you need to have some sort of spreadsheet program on your PC. Myself, I'm using the Microsoft Excel through the Office 365 program. If you're more technical than me, you can probably build this in a database of any kind too. I imagine Microsoft Access would be perfect for this. Third thing you need is to have sufficient knowledge on how to actually build different types of pivot tables and graphs. If you don't know how to do this yourself, then I'm working on a clean performance review template, much like the one you will see me using in this video. And my plan is to make this available as soon as I feel comfortable with the quality of it. Or you can just watch my videos, give me suggestions to players you want to see me try out, collect data from and review for you. Let's jump into the video, and we start with looking at what kind of stats are available for us to collect. What we're looking at here is the screen that we always see when we finish a game. This will show us the basic performance in the form of goals, assists, shots, dribbles, crosses, tackle, etc. Up until recently, these were the only stats that I was tracking. The second type of stats are found here under the performance section after the game. Here we will find more detailed stats like passing divided into short, medium and long passes, key dribbles, fouls, interceptions, possessions won and lost, and headers, to name a few. And this is something that I've started tracking from I think about 50 games ago. So it's pretty fresh for me. So to collect these stats, I've created this table looking like this. This has been worked on and rebuilt several times as I've come up with new things that I want to track. Basically it has a few calculated columns to start with to help me collect unique rows as well as stats for squads. Then follows the basic stats like player names, name of the squad, the category of player, the position and the formation used. Sometimes you only want to follow up certain positions or categories, like follow up tackles for defenders only. And also sometimes you can switch formation but use the same player, and this will allow us to see how the player have performed for the different formation is played in. After these basic data are filled in, I simply start putting in the data from the screens we watched earlier, from both game stats and performance stats, until all the stats are filled in for all players. What I've found is that for performance data there seem to be two stats that are not used at the moment. These are successful one-on-one dribbles and the auto position stat. Not once since I started tracking these performance stats about 50 games ago have any player had anything but 0 for these, so I'm beginning to think that they are not used at the moment. So repeat this for every game you play, and pretty soon we will have a data that we can start looking at. I've done this in different types of pivot tables, divided into 5 sections down here: goals and assists, shooting, passing, dribbles and defending. Basically it's a way of presenting the stats that are filled in into overviewable tables with advanced options for calculation and sorting. For example, in this assist table I can choose to sort by total assists, which will show that Thomas Müller is leading the stats with 90 assists, or I can choose to sort it by the average number of assists per games, which will show that Inform Rafael leads with 0.7 assists per games. I've also included the games played column here in all my tables, and this is because normally I will disregard all stats from players who've played less than 20 games, and this is to get relevant statistical foundation to look at. This will then look similar for the different sections here, showing summarized tables for most relevant stats. Let's look at one more example under the defending section. Here you can see the percentage of won tackles, and here you can see the number of average won tackles per game. And in this stats I would disregard Older Forel, since he's only played 5 games for me so far, and I would consider Matic as my number 1 in this table. Let's scroll to the right here until I find the average interception. Here it is. Here I want to see only the midfielders, so I will go to this drop down menu here and choose midfielders. Now we can see that Matic is number 1 with an average of 2.2 interceptions per game, with Arturo Vidal second with 1.6 interceptions per game. Now with this data I can start doing graphs to visualize things in better ways, like these examples will show you. There are 2 more things that I've built that are useful for us. One is this player dashboard that will show you the most important stats for one single player. I simply change the player here, and you can see that the data and the graphs changes. It's a simple way to compare 2 players against each other. But last thing I've done is I've done a comprehensive way to compare them side by side. You can use this to compare 2 players, 2 different players that play on the same position, to see which one has performed the best. But this can also be to compare the same player if you've used them from different formations like I talked about earlier. So let's use the inform Goretzka here as an example and compare him over the 2 different formations I've played him in. First, on the left here we're going to choose the 4-4-1-1 formation, and then on the right here we're going to choose the 4-1-2-1-2 narrow formation. Now I can compare the same card over the 2 different formations to see where he has performed the best. Same thing for an upgrade on a player. Like for example, I can compare the first inform Rafael with the second inform Rafael. Or I can compare the regular Ander Herrera here with the Fatmas Ander Herrera here. I can also copy the table here and compare 3 players against each other too, like 3 different left backs from the Premier League to see which one has performed the best. So now you know how I track the performance stats and use it to compare players against each other. So if you have the time, the basic knowledge and the interest of course, you can do it yourself now. Once you start tracking stats, you're going to notice things that are going to help you get better in FIFA. You're going to find surprising things like cheap players performing much better than some of the expensive ones. You can find the perfect formation for certain players, and you can see which players suit your style of play best. The best thing would be if EA looked at implementing these types of total performance stats as a standard function in FIFA 19, so that we wouldn't have to track this manually. But I hope you've enjoyed this video today and got a little bit more insight on how I work with my performance stats. Until next time, see ya!